I gotta be honest, man. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired of having to sing every time. But you guys just won't get it, so... Loans! Does that take good? Do we need some auto-tune or I just figured I'd don some impressive fashion. Try and be a cool person. You know who else are cool people? The people that have submitted their saves for this episode of SYS. Save your saves. It's the last one on FM21. We're going to take a look at some people's saves, tell you how to fix them, or at least what you might be able to do better because your save might be too broken that not even I, greatest mind in the game, can fix it. As long as football manager knowledge is directly proportional to the size of your head, I think I have a really good chance of backing up that claim. There's also a sponsor of this video, and if you actually watch the sponsorship thing, when it comes up, you have a chance to own a part of a club, actually. And those people whose saves have been submitted are subscribers on Twitch. The link is down in the description, and those people are cool, like me. They wear things like this. Tassels aren't really exhilarating. Even if you don't like Twitch, there's a live channel link down in the description. You can check that out too. Edited versions of the streams. They're like 20-30 minutes. But it's better to be at the streams because you want to be there live. FOMO. But the most important person there today is our first caller, Echo CFC, who is managing Sheffield United 2025. Won the championship in my first season. Hooray! I mean, actually, congrats. Was in a relegation scrap for a while, right, until having a good run in the second season. Shock got Champions League in the second season of the Premier League. Congrats. But then it gets worse, right? Even after bringing in way more quality to the side and Wonder Kids, we just can't seem to find the form we had that season, even 2 years later. I don't know if this is a dynamics issue or even a tactical one. All right. Didn't pop at all. Let's do this. So right now, Sheffield United is in fourth. So after what you call a huge increase in quality, well, everything you've told me is a lie. Apparently, this appears to be in some way finagled with in a way that you finish last in the Prem and first in the Championship. It then relegation scrap, which Champions League is not sixth, and you haven't gotten worse. I mean, you finish fourth and seventh. And so I'm a bit confused by the instructions, and you are again in fourth. So assuming it was a typo with the whole I got Champions League, you burst into Europa League thing, it looks like you've kind of held serve. But let's take a look at what we almost always take a look at here, and that is the analytics comparison. So look at the overall defensive ability of your defenders, the midfield ability of your midfielders, the attacking ability of your forwards. And what I'm seeing here is a team that is definitely going to be coming in at, I think, an above average level overall in the league. Do you look like a team that should be dominating the league? No, obviously not on the other side. This is about understanding relativity. You have done very well to get to this point in the save, right? You are a consistent European club coming out of the championship. You have shown yourself to be accomplished in that way. But you are competing against the best teams in the world. Closing that gap is a lot harder than it might seem, probably because you're not wording it that way and that you're trying to make the massive jump from being a passable top league team in Europe to being a team that can compete and consistently beat the best teams in the world. That's what you're trying to do. Now, I can see, obviously, you have been watching the Zealand videos, right? Can I refer to myself in the third person? Does that make me uncomfortable? Yes. But you've been building your team the right way. You've got a wall of stars on the outside. Your entire team is 20, 21 years old. What I'm inclined to say, based off the players that you have on your team, Yusufa Moukoko, you went out and just bought immediately, which, you know, nice job. You got Neymar on a free because honestly that wage is really low. That's well done. And you've been bagging Wonder Kids from around the world. You're doing the right things. I would be inclined to say just chill. You've got high quality players. If you gave me a Premier League team, it would take me, right, and I do nothing else all day and play this game. It would take me a lot of years to get to a point where I could win the league every year. There aren't a lot of players in the world that are at a level where Manchester City and United and Chelsea and Liverpool can't touch them. And you're like head and shoulders above them. And so certain seasons are going to come off better than others when you're playing in a league like this. You're just not going to win the league every single year until you get yourself to that I'm the Galactico level. which you're obviously not at. I mean, you've been in the Premier League for what, 4 or 5 seasons? You're blitzkrieging the Europa League, which congratulations, but it's an understanding that as long as you continue to replicate the process that you've already applied, have faith in that process. Your concern, your frustration, there is no immediate recipe for I am instantly going to be the best team in the Premier League because, now I finished 6th and went out and bought a bunch of wonder kids. Buying a bunch of 19 and 20-year-old players is great, and they're going to be great. But even somebody like Reece Milner over here, this guy is not getting regular playing time at the best clubs in England. He's just not. He has 16 passing, only 14 vision. All he does is control the ball and distribute. He doesn't have excellent athleticism. He doesn't even have decent athleticism at the top level, and his passing is only 16. So you're talking about somebody that is not elite at anything, right? And he's already 20 years old. Okay, so these are players that you might want to consider selling. You have so many of these 20-year-olds. I saw your balance was under 30 million. You've got inflated values of all of these players because they're in the Premier League. If you really need the money, you have a war chest of 87 million in your transfer budget. But if you need the money, unload some of these guys that aren't going to help you get absolutely all the way, because this guy will develop until he's 25, 26, because he's clearly a slow developer. He's got good potential. If you want those few guys that are just world changing right now, they pop up. They're in France, $40 million from Monaco at 18, but the dude's already legit. He's going to get even better. We'll start selling a few of these guys to make room for playing time for those other guys. You basically sort into the haves or the have-nots at this point, and hoarding can become a problem, and it can weigh you down financially. That's really the only problem you need to avoid at this point. You know what you're doing. What is one of the 7 virtues, or whatever they're called? One is patience, though. I know that. I play Crusader Kings. Next, we have Looney Loser, who is managing a team called Smorgon. Right. I could use your wisdom to not miss out on a chance to break into Europe in the midst of financial difficulties with a squad as deep as a piece of notebook paper is thick. I do love poetry. When we were promoted into the Belarusian highest league. I do love a good Belarusian save. After the first full season of this save, we have taken a big loan to install undersoil heating to bring our pitch into compliance with league rules. Kind of necessary, though. You're familiar enough with the situation in Belarus to have an idea of how hard it is to make money without being in Europe. I could also use some advice on finding U21 Belarusian players, since I need to have one of them on the pitch at all times. Most of my current young Belarusians age out of this category. I'm willing to listen to any other advice you have. Tactic number 2 is my primary. I appreciate Looney Loser having watched the videos and wanting to tell me that. Let's take a look. And while this loads up, we'll take an opportunity to talk about how you can actually own a piece of a club. I was contacted about a month or 2 ago by a Phoenix club called South Shore FC. South Shore FC was founded in 1879. In 1900, it merged to become Blackpool, but for the majority of the period from 1879 to 1900, South Shore FC was considered the largest club in Blackpool. It's coming back in 2022, and you can become a part of it. And it's being brought back by a bunch of guys, honestly, I had a meeting with them, that are absolutely wonderful. They have their own Twitch channel. They get on it and answer questions and talk about anything and everything about the club. And they're trying to return a club to Blackpool that values those community-centric grassroots, roots that clubs in Blackpool had back in the 1800s. Except I'm pretty sure they didn't have Twitch back in the 1800s, but you can check that stuff out down in the description. South Shore FC is going to be starting in the 13th tier of English football in this coming year. If you want to support one of the oldest clubs in the game making its return in Blackpool and a return to community-based club ownership, well, there's an Indiegogo campaign down there. You can get some merch and just be a supporter of the club. Now, if you want to become an owner of the club, they actually have a WeFunder campaign where you can buy in on the portion of the shares that they're offloading. Now, this is stuff that has just gotten off the ground. They reached out to me because they were part of you guys that watch the channel, is the part of the initial push with this club that is starting to play next year, South Shore FC. So if you want to become a part of that, support the community football, the grassroots football movement that is resurging, and support one of the oldest clubs in the sport, all of that stuff is down in the description. Be sure to check it out. Meanwhile, I think Looney Loser at Smorgon has loaded. So the finances are probably... What are you going to do with a $60,000 transfer budget, right? What are you going to do with that? Okay, cool. Scouting budget is $6,000. I mean, that's like what? 2 trips to South America in a year? Maybe 1. Depends on how nice of a hotel the scout needs. But that's the question. The question is, how can you get this squad into European places? So tantalizingly close. 21 matches done in the season, and Smorgon is 3 places out of those European places. Got promoted, took out the giant loan for the undersoil heating. The financial projections are morbid, and unlike the financial projections on my Twitch save, you probably don't have a lot of players that contain serious value for you to be able to offload that would balance your budget, and that's just the par for the course here. What I am noticing here is you have a distinct lack of players who are in on something I like to call loan. You understand what I'm saying? Now, this is tricky because I can see you've already gone outside of Belarus for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players. My memory serves, you've got 3 spots left. My memory serves me poorly. So you need 5 foreign players in your starting 11, which is obviously something you've already cleared. So there are options. 1, you go to Bate, you go to Shakhtar Shaligorsk, you find the players, you go to transfer, and you go to loan list, and you go up to Idris Nuruddin, who is Belarusian, and you offer a trial. You offer a trial. Usually if they're on the loan list, they'll accept. If they don't, I would recommend just offering the loan anyways, and it'd be something that you might be able to float. You have, 30, 40,000 left in your wage budget. I am proud of you for resisting the urge to fill out your youth teams. You're saving yourself on wage budget there, and that is an intelligent move. You need 1 under 21 player, and they're about to age out. Well, I've got good news. This guy down in your U20, your reserves, Anatoly Maximovich, looks like he might just turn into a good enough player for you to use him is some sort of playmaker sooner rather than later. Give him a year or 2, work him into the first team a few times so it jogs his development, have him train with the first team, and he'll probably be able to pick up that U21 spot for a couple of years, at least until you get yourself into European places, and then you can start picking up bigger paychecks and at least balance the budget. Or you could just go grab Timofey Sharkovsky, who's rated a 70 on your recommendation, pick him up and use him as your U21 player. You have options with that as long as the top Belarusian clubs are listing some different players for loan. I'd also recommend keeping a foreign spot open for a loan player. The loan players that you're going to be loaning in from foreign countries, they're more likely to be better than the players that you're going to be signing from foreign countries, because the players you're signing from foreign countries are agreeing to come and play with you full time, right? They're just not going to want to do that. A club that's never been to Europe, at least in living memory. And so keeping a foreign spot or 2 open for some loanees would not be a bad idea, and it wouldn't be a bad idea to look for 1 or 2 senior affiliates to get yourself some free loans. Come in here, networking, senior affiliate, hey boss, we need some loans. Because when you're playing in a country like Belarus, your options very small. There are only so many good Belarusian players, and the teams with more money are going to have them. The only way to short that circuit is to start getting yourself into Europe by loaning in the best of the rest and getting really good foreign players to come in and play for you that eventually become Belarusian. It only takes 3 years. That's like one of the few bright spots that you possibly conjure, but it only takes 3 years. That's how I ended up winning the Champions League with Bates. You sign 18-year-olds, 3 years later they have a Belarusian nationality that all of a sudden they can play and they count as a Belarusian player. Next. Thinking about going into a recording deal full time. Next, we have Ninja Panda with the Bordeaux. I'm doing relatively well in the league, struggle to get my striker involved in scoring goals with any kind of consistency. I've had to rely on my wingers scoring to make up for the missing goals instead. That's been the difference between Champions League or Europa League places. I will say, off the top, with ODFC, we've been banging in a lot of goals on my save, and not a lot of them are coming from the striker. Football Manager 21 is very good at being balanced in where the goals come from in a more realistic sense than other FMs where sometimes your striker was the only person that could score. I think the fact that your striker only has 11 finishing might be a contributing factor. Ninja, you're an intelligent guy, you're a mod on the channel actually. 11 finishing. Just to make sure we're not missing any other potential strikers. Jose Luis Sandoval, he's played 13 matches, he's scored 5 goals, and that is likely because he's just not actually a really good player. Now, your wing players, on the other hand, like Pierre Romero Riviere, this guy is good. What about Luciano Emilio? Good. Marcos Antonio? Good. Either footed, explosively athletic. Thomas Viscera, pretty good, but he doesn't have much of the Holy Trinity, which maketh a good striker. Bing, bang, bong. Ain't there. Now, assuming this is your just incredibly defensive formation that you don't use often, your striker is also operating in a single striker system on both sides, and it is a lot harder for strikers to score out of a single striker system in this game. If your wingers are scoring the goals, that could almost be the intent of this sort of formation. Both of them are on attack. You've got somebody in Viscera who's a really decent facilitator for a center forward, as well as being just a decent goal scorer. Your team's almost designed to set up goal scoring from the wings and the attacking midfield in general. This is not as much of a concern as I think you think that it is. Contributing to it, though, is definitely the fact that you have one striker who has a lot of finishing who is bad, and another striker who is decent to pretty good, but his prerogative is not goal scoring. And neither is your tactics prerogative to get like 30 goals from your striker. It's just not. Next, it's Lucky Rich 28 with H&W Welders in Northern Ireland. God, I've loved this club for years. Or I just heard of them right now. You get to figure out which. I have been managing this club for over 9 years. It's a lot of dedication to the welding craft. Still haven't been able to get more than the last round of qualifiers for the Conference League. Oof. I have so far only won one trophy, and that was the second division title in my first season. We were predicted to go down in our first 4 seasons, narrowly avoided relegation 3 times, and on the 4th actually finished in the top half of the league. So I'm just looking for advice on how to win some trophies and get into Europe eventually. I'm also Northern Ireland manager, but I'm not expecting much out of that one. May I say, first of all, most people, when they play Football Manager, hit a save like this and they give up. You persevered. You've built yourself a team that can compete in the top half of the league. This is a very realistic experience, right? And it's translated to Football Manager. You had a gutsy performance as a manager in 9 seasons, and I am happy to see what we can do. H&W Welders currently sitting in 5th in the league, 4 points out of a European position. Now, Larne and Linfield are going to be difficult to catch. They're always going to be difficult to catch, but Portadown and Cliftonville, I feel like we can handle them. So you're getting into the European places playoff every year is what I'm seeing, but there's no way to like guarantee for sure you're going to get into those European places. I'm happy Northern Ireland's distributing prize money, though. It's probably keeping you relatively stable when it comes to the balance, which is good. You don't have a ticking time bomb going on. My question is also, are you professional? No, you're semi-professional, and you're going to need to get into a European group stage to probably turn that into actual professionalism. Congrats on the post with Northern Ireland, but like you said, we're not going to focus on that. Let me check out your dev center. This is a mistake right here. See, you really just, unless these guys have any chance to be around the first team, you shouldn't be giving this money away. Look, it might not seem like much, but this is just one of my pet peeves, right? If you look around your teams and you're like, okay, well, where's the money gone? This sort of stuff hurts. The non-contracts are a good move, but you could use those few $1,000s. The biggest contract you have, $32,050. All right, this is a tricky pickle. Now, I spent some time with a team called Carmarthen Town in Wales. It was the last time I played at this type of level, where we were a semi-professional team competing for the top of the league. We eventually won the league. It took us about 4 or 5 years to completely overcome the New Saints. And the way you have to do it is you have to offer a trial to absolutely everybody. You have to try a non-contract offer every single person that comes in. If you're not familiar with the concept of trials, you got to expand your player search as much as possible, right? And so your player search, which if I clear out, let's see how many, you have 2,247 players. And how many are on expired contracts? There are 1,600 players on expired contracts. Any one of these people could help you. And not just that, here is what I will often do. These are just a few tips to help you identify players, because you're at a level where the difference between you getting into Europe and not is finding those 1 or 2 players that are going to want to play for you, but offer a level of quality that is far beyond what you should be able to get. One of my favorites is real cheap. You just go to international and you go to like international caps. You're looking for somebody that has 1 international cap at any level, right? And we find these guys, and it's Andorra and Libya, right? But this guy's played for Libya. He's got 88 caps. He might be 35, but this guy might be able to help you. He's looking for regular starter playing time, but this is a wage that you can afford. And this dude certainly looks like he can ping a ball, even though he is a statue, right? But before you make an offer like that, let's go ahead and offer him a trial. Max Iavera, 96 caps for Andorra. Now, normally you'd sit there and go, come on, New York, I'm busy here. Normally you'd look at an Andorran international and go, You don't want to do that. This dude has a lot of experience, and he's probably going to end up being a good player. Another good one is the youth caps. So you turn this up to a couple youth appearances, right? And we find Danny Rogers, 35-year-old Irish goalkeeper, might be able to help you out right now. We've got an Icelandic guy, Ingi Thor Sigurdsson. Maybe he's able to help you out right now. And some of these guys certainly might not be able to help you out, but you just found a couple of North Irish lads that might actually be able to contribute to your team. If you're looking for a striker, you can look for like all-time career goals. So this guy's got over 25 career goals. He's 22, right? You can do this sort of thing for a really long time. And often I will find myself doing this sort of thing for a long time to try and isolate those players that are going to end up making a difference, because you never know where those people are hiding. The good news for you is there are a ton of players out there that are going to elevate your team to the next level. You just have to get creative in finding them. Oh, by the way, take your entire scouting staff, even if it's just 2-3 people, they all have no current assignment. They need to be looking for people on end of contract. They need to be looking for free agents that are first team level players. Your entire scouting range, which is literally, I'm assuming, the nation of Northern Ireland, we are looking for first team players with an end of contract. Boom. If they don't have a contract, trial them. Trial as many people as you possibly can all the time. That sort of stuff affects your training, but you're semi-pro. You don't train much anyways. And there we go. We've looked at semi-pro teams in Northern Ireland and teams trying to win the Premier League, and that's just another day in the life trying to save your saves. If you liked it, hit the subscribe button and the like button, and honestly, click anything you find down below. Literally anything at all. Have you ever tried that? Click everything below a video and just see what happens with your life? You're a bold person. Bold.